What happens to our society when money itself is programmed by central authorities? I mean, it's a truly high stakes question, right? And the thing is, it's no longer just science fiction or speculation. We're standing on the absolute brink of a massive financial shift, and understanding the mechanics behind it is absolutely critical for all of us. Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to our explainer on the architecture of future money. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating, highly detailed 9-paper academic meta-analysis by Michael R. Williams. This research maps out exactly what this new financial system looks like, and honestly, more importantly, how humanity will inevitably react to it once it fully goes live. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we're going to meet the ABCD system. Second, we'll look at the 4 population archetypes. Third, we'll explore the parallel economy that naturally emerges. And finally, we'll map out our bifurcated financial future. Let's jump right into part 1, meet the ABCD system. We're going to look at this like neutral anthropologists today, just observing a technological inevitability that's currently being built by global institutions all over the world. So what exactly is it? Well, the ABCD system is a massive contemporary financial reconfiguration. Basically, it integrates artificial intelligence, biometric identification, central bank digital currency, and digital compliance. It's the foundational setting of our new financial world, completely altering how value is tracked, managed, and exchanged day to day. The crucial point here is how these 4 pillars literally lock together to reinforce one another. You've got artificial intelligence-driven decisioning doing instant credit and compliance checks. Then, biometric digital identification acts as the physical, irrefutable e-keeper. Central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, form the core settlement layer. And finally, a digital control and compliance layer just seamlessly manages the whole shebang from the top down. As Williams notes in the research, the combination is qualitatively novel, even though each individual feature has historical antecedents. Sure, we know parts of this have existed before in various forms, but this unprecedented integration, it creates transaction-level traceability and AI-augmented surveillance at a massive population-wide scale. It's literally a completely new paradigm for human interaction. All right, let's move rapidly into part 2, the 4 population archetypes. Because, as you might guess, society won't just react to this architecture as one giant compliant monolith. Human psychology is going to deeply fracture our collective response. Now, what's really interesting here is the population stack. You can see instantly how these 4 groups differ in their dominant strategy. We've got the participating majority, the embedded remnant, the disenchanted dissenters, and the resistant remnant. Let's break each one of these deeply interesting groups down to really understand their motives. First up is the participating majority. This is the baseline group that willfully and honestly, eagerly embraces the system's build-out. Why? Well, largely for the sheer convenience, regulatory positioning, and infrastructure alignment. They expect concrete economic gains and a highly seamless, frictionless daily life where everything simply works with a quick scan. Next, we have a fascinating middle ground group, the embedded remnant. They stay within the system's perimeter, offering functional compliance on the surface just to get by, but underneath, they cultivate hidden social substructures to sustain their differentiated identities. They aim to remain administratively invisible, almost like hiding in plain sight, all while keeping their distinct culture and values totally alive in the shadows. Then you have the disenchanted dissenters. The journey of the disenchanted dissenter typically follows this really distinct timeline. They start in stage 1 with enthusiastic embrace. Maybe they genuinely loved the initial promises of security and speed, but eventually latent friction builds up. A tipping point event occurs, leading to active reconsideration and finally full defection. The reality of the system sharply clashes with the initial promise, and they just flee. Finally, there's the resistant remnant. These are the populations that totally refuse participation right from the start. They reject the architecture outright, choosing complete institutional exit. But here's the catch. To actually survive outside the comprehensive ABCD system, they are forced to create and participate in entirely alternative parallel worlds. Which brings us perfectly into part 3, the parallel economy. What exactly does this resistant remnant build to survive outside a globally mandated financial system? Well, they build what the research calls a rope vice. Yeah, I know, that is a massive acronym, but just think of it as a set of crucial survival cheat codes. It stands for a resilient, open-source, parallel, electronicless, financial, economic, interoperable system. These are the 8 essential design criteria absolutely needed to withstand a comprehensive, global digital mandate. The central nervous system of this alternative world is the OGFI, or Off-Grid Financial Institution. Instead of programmable digital ledgers and biometric IDs, an OGFI substitutes tangible assets and deep human social trust. It executes all the canonical financial functions, like lending, saving, and transferring, but it does it entirely off the grid. When we put these two impending realities side by side, the contrast is just crystal clear. On one hand, the ABCD system is highly digital, biometric, centralized, and entirely programmable by authorities. On the other hand, the ROP, FICE, and OGFI model is based purely on tangible assets, local reputation, analog paper and metal, and is fundamentally uncensorable. We're literally looking at two completely different realities operating at the exact same time. Let's see how this actually builds out. It happens across three distinct historical phases. Phase 1 is preparation. This is the quiet period of accumulating tangible assets and building durable trust networks. Phase 2 is the transition, officially activating paper currency and opening up community custody. And by Phase 3, we see full operation, featuring a complete financial suite and inter-community clearing mechanisms that allow this entire shadow economy to stay fully functional. All right, this brings us to our final section, our bifurcated financial future. This is where we bring the rigid technological system rules and the complex human archetypes together into a stable, yet incredibly tense equilibrium. The meta-analysis neutrally outlines three bifurcation theses for our future. First, population bifurcation, meaning society physically and ideologically splits into a participating majority and a persistent, dedicated minority. Second, system bifurcation, a robust parallel financial order emerges, directly overlapping the dominant one. And third, trajectory bifurcation, meaning there's continuous, highly structured mobility between the two tiers as people either defect or reincorporate over time. Now here is what you really need to take away from this. A bifurcated equilibrium is not a system failure. Historically speaking, having a parallel shadow economy is the natural, guaranteed complement to any comprehensive financial control regime. It's a feature, not a glitch. The relationship between the system and the people creates this fascinating coupling matrix. The technical design choices authorities make directly forge the size and the speed of the rebellion. For example, a rapid deployment rollout triggers immediate resistant remnant migration. Removing analog fallback options forces the embedded remnant into deep, untrackable invisibility. And intense value conditioning from the top down, well, that just accelerates the disenchanted dissenters' exit from the system entirely. And this brilliantly illustrates the core finding of the research. To quote the study directly, the steady-state equilibrium is not exogenously determined by architecture, but is selected jointly by design choices and population response choices. In plain English, the ultimate shape of our future society isn't just about the technology being built. It relies entirely on the friction of human choice. So we are left with a stark, undeniable reality. A bifurcated financial future isn't just possible. According to the historical data and this structural analysis, it's highly probable. The global architecture is being set. The archetypes are already forming. So the only real question left for us is this: when the system bifurcates, which tier will you choose?